Hi, welcome to the SwiftUI weather notification animations. In this video, we will animate the sun icon to travel along this circular motion path. The sun's motion along the path involves 4 different kinds of motion. The movement from this point to this point, and from here to this point, from here to this point as well, and from this point to this point. So in this case, we will need 4 different states in order to create this animation. In order to make the sun icon travel along this circular motion path, we will need 2 things. First, we will need to place the sun icon and the circular motion path, which is this dotted circle, in a parent container Z-stack, and make sure the sun icon is just above this dotted circle. Next, we will need both the offset modifier and the rotation effect modifier to make the sun icon travel along the path. In this case, we need to place the offset above the rotation effect. So let's start by creating 4 states. Over here, we define 4 states and set each state to 0. We are going to animate the rotation effect. So each angle of rotation over here is set to 0. The mean rise is the motion from this point to this point. Max rise is the motion from this point to the peak. Mean fall is the motion from the peak to this point. And max fall is the motion from this point to this point. So let's start with the mean rise animation. Let's copy the state. We want to trigger this animation when the view appears. So let's go to the location of the sun icon. You can see here we have the sun icon and it is embedded in an H stack. Both the sun icon and the dotted circle are embedded in this Z stack. So you can see here the sun icon is just above the dotted circle. I embedded the sun icon in this H stack in order to add a horizontal padding of 11. So here you can see the offset modifier is attached to the sun icon. So where the H stack parent container ends, we are going to trigger this animation. So you can see we have the onAppear modifier attached. So inside the onAppear modifier, we are going to define the final state of the animation. So let's paste the state and set it to an angle of 30 degrees. That is the rotation from this point to this point. Next, we will use the state to animate the rotation effect. So just above the onAppear modifier, we will add the rotation effect. For the angle of rotation, we are going to use the state. We get an error. By clicking here, we can fix the error. In order to see this animation, we will need to add the animation modifier. So just below the rotation effect, let's add the animation modifier. For the easing equation, we will use ease in out. That is more appropriate for this animation. Let's also set the duration of this animation to 2 seconds. Next, we want to delay this animation before it starts. So let's add a delay of 4 seconds. So we can now resume and see what we have done. By waiting for 4 seconds, the sun travels from this point to this point. Now, let's create the next movement, the motion from this point to the peak. We are going to use the state max rise and use it to set the final state. You can see in this animation, over here, the sun is at an angle of 0. So from here to the peak, we have the angle to be 90 degrees. So as it travels to this point, which is 30 degrees, the remaining angle is 60. So we are going to set the max right angle to 60 degrees. That is from here to the peak. In SwiftUI, you can animate a property attached to a view as many times you want. So we want to animate the rotation effect 4 times. So let's copy the rotation effect and its animation modifier and paste it below the animation modifier. For this animation, we will change the min rise to max rise, which is this state. You can see here, as we did that, the sun travels from this point to where we have 90 degrees because the delay of this animation and the first animation are the same. So let's change the delay of the animation from this point to the maximum position to 8 seconds so that we have 4-second interval. So the sun moves from here to this point and waits for 4 seconds before it comes to the maximum position. We can use the same technique to create the remaining 2 animations. First, we are going to create the animation from the maximum position to this point. So from this point to this point is 150 degrees. The location where the sun is at the moment is 90 degrees. So the angle between where the sun icon is at the moment and this position should be 90 plus 60, which is 150. So we are going to use this state, which is mean fall, and set it to an angle of 150. So we already have the sun located at this point, which is 90. So we have 90 plus 60 to give us 150. So we are going to put 60 degrees. If we sum everything, it should give 180. That is the movement from this point all the way to this point. So let's copy the rotation effect modifier and the animation modifier again and paste them below. We are going to change the max rise to mean fall. Now the sun will travel from this point to this point and will travel all the way to here without waiting at where we have the maximum position, because we have the delay of that position the same as where we have the angle to be 150 degrees. So over here, the delay interval from the first animation to the second animation is 4 seconds. So we are going to change the delay of the third animation to 12 seconds so that the intervals are the same. Now the sun will move from here to this point, and it will move from this point to the maximum point, and also move from the maximum point to where we have the angle to be 150 degrees. So now what is remaining is the final movement from where we have the angle to be 150 degrees to where we have the angle to be 180 degrees. In this case, we are going to use the state max fall. So let's bring it here. As I said before, the total angle from this point all the way to this point is 180 degrees. So we already have 30 plus 60 plus 60, which gives us 150 degrees. So the sun is at this point. So the remaining angle will give us 30 degrees. That is the motion from this point to this point. Next, we are going to use the state max fall to animate the rotation effect as we did before. So let's copy the rotation effect and the animation modifier and paste it below. Then we change the mean fall to max 4. Now, the sun is not going to wait at this point. It will move from here all the way to the final destination. This is because we have the delay of the third animation the same as the delay of the final destination. So as you can see, the delay interval is 4 seconds between each animation. So for the final animation, we will change the delay to 16 seconds so that from this point, the sun is going to wait and move to the final destination. So let's preview again. So this is how to create the movement of the sun icon along the circular motion path by animating the rotation effect attached to the view 4 times and changing the delay for each animation.